Hey, you guys, I'm Phil Town from Rule and Investing, and today I want to clear something up. There's a lot of talk about the next market crash. Now, unfortunately, market crashes are often connected to recessions. So let's talk a little bit about where do recessions come from? So you guys, you know that it's not news that we've had a tremendous long run in the bull market here for at least 10 years. And it's continuing so far, or at least it seems like it might be. So what could actually stop that? It turns out that there is something called the credit cycle, which is responsible for recession after recession after recession for the last 140 years. Now the business cycle starts by having people earning a certain amount of money before, or just start at, let's say, at 0 day of a business cycle. People are earning, let's say, $100,000 a year. So you're earning $100,000 a year and you're spending $100,000 a year, and that $100,000 is somebody else's income. So all is well in the world. There's no growth going on, but that's okay. Everybody's got a job and they're making $100,000 a year. That's where we're starting. All right, now, the person with $100,000 a year in a very positive economic cycle, there's no recession in sight, goes to the bank and says, I make $100,000 a year. How much will you lend me? And the bank, looking around at the economic cycle, seeing no storms in sight, says, we will lend you $10,000. So now this person who's spending $100 can spend $110,000. Well, that extra $10,000 goes into the economy and becomes someone else's $110,000 income. So somebody got a raise or somebody else got hired at a higher price. So now this $110,000 income goes to the bank and says, hey, I'd like a loan. And they say, oh, you're making $110,000. We can lend you $12,000. And that now becomes $122,000 that this person can spend, which becomes someone's $122,000 income. And that person goes to the bank and says, how much can I borrow? They say, oh, you're making $122,000. We'll lend you $15,000. And now that money goes into the economy, that extra $15,000, and becomes somebody's $137,000 income. And so it goes through the early part of the credit cycle. Now, as you can imagine, and if you lived through 2007 and 8 in the real estate cycle, what you saw for real was that at some point, this very positive borrowing that everybody's doing starts to run up against some kind of a natural limit. And that limit comes when people simply just won't borrow anymore. But that doesn't happen when the economy's rocking and rolling. People want to borrow all they can because everything seems to be working so well. They're not worried about losing their job, right? So where does it stop? Why would it stop? And the answer is the Federal Reserve will help it stop. It was put into place in the early 1900s in order to prevent really sharp changes in the credit cycle. So instead of going into a depression suddenly out of nowhere, when all of a sudden everybody stops buying stuff and loses their jobs, the Federal Reserve is supposed to smooth things out. So what they did was they said, okay, we're gonna smooth things out by keeping track of this cycle. And when it feels to us like people are borrowing money who shouldn't be borrowing money, interest rates are too low, people are too aggressive, what we're gonna do is we're going to turn off the tap. And the way we do that is we raise interest rates. As we raise interest rates, what happens immediately is people who are on the edge of being able to borrow because of a limited amount of income, they go over the edge. Why? Because those extra interest rates cause higher payments on their debt and they can't afford that. The bank says, well, with the interest rate at 3%, yep, we would have made the loan, but now the interest rate is 4% and you no longer qualify. So those people don't get to borrow. Now, some of them, that's gonna make a big difference. They're not gonna be able to borrow to refinance something that they already spent the money on, which means they're gonna lose their house, or they're gonna go into bankruptcy personally because they can't refinance some loan. So when they go into bankruptcy, guess what? That's money that isn't being spent in the economy anymore this year that was being spent last year. So that means the cycle starts to go the other way. What was somebody's $137,000 a year job now disappears and there's only a $122,000 job. And then that disappears, and there's only a $110,000 job. And then that disappears, there's only a $100,000 job. So all these people start being out of work. When they're out of work, they spend less money. That means somebody else isn't making their income. They go out of work, spend less money, and the cycle winds down into recession. Now, recession happens, a lot of things point to it, but basically recession crosses all the different sectors of the economy. And it's very impactful on the stock market. Because why? Because recession means people are buying less. That means there's less revenue in US corporations. With less revenue, and they haven't changed their cost structure, they stop making money. And some of these companies fail to actually perform at all and go bankrupt. So a recession starts winding down not only personal income, but also corporate income. And that recession continues to go down until the Federal Reserve thinks things have cooled off enough. And when things have cooled off enough people are unemployed, enough businesses have failed, enough personal bankruptcies that we're back to an even keel again, then they lower interest rates in order to get things moving again. They lower them and lower them. And you guys, you saw all this happening in 2009 and 2010 as the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates to zero. And by the way, that situation still exists around the world. Germany has negative interest rates. They're charging people to give them their money. So we're in a precarious situation here. We've been 10 years into this cycle. We should have high interest rates, we should have the Federal Reserve raising interest rates to slow things down 10 years into this heated up stock market, heated up economy, no unemployment, well, 3% unemployment, which is historically low. All of the things that are screaming, whoa, put the brakes on because we're about to go into inflation. We're about to go sailing off the edge of the earth in terms of way too much growth too fast. And guess what? They're talking about lowering interest rates to keep the game going. So this is a really interesting time right now for the stock market. A lot of people think we're very close to the edge. We're right on the shaky edge. The Federal Reserve is trying to lower interest rates without ever really raising them in the first place, without trying to reduce credit, without trying to reduce borrowing, without trying to reduce incomes, and without trying to reduce unemployment. It's unbelievably what's going on right now. Just listen to Warren Buffett talk about this, and he's like, really, we shouldn't have the kind of debt we've got with unemployment rates where they are very, very low, with inflation rates very, very low, and the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates. That doesn't compute in any of Warren Buffett's time on the planet. So you guys, if you're prepared with a watch list because you've learned to invest, and you have a list of great businesses, the coming inevitable recession is going to be an opportunity for you to swoop in and buy these businesses on sale. And then when the market rebounds, your investments will become very profitable. The principles of Rule 1 investing teach that identifying value is critical so that you know when it's an opportunity to buy this great company on sale. It's the way you can find the best deals on buying wonderful businesses. That happens during a recession. So far from worrying about it, we're actually, I know I hate to say this, but we're looking forward a little bit to seeing us finally go into that where we get an opportunity to really load up the truck. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys. You think we're headed for a recession? And if you do, why? Leave a comment below with your answer and I'll be sure to follow up with you. And thanks for watching. Now go play. If you enjoyed this video and you feel it was valuable in teaching you more about what causes a recession, hit the like button and please share this video with your friends. And if you want more investing content, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the button on the screen for a free gift. And thanks again for watching.